he has a lot of experience with performance enhancement.
What's up guys, Derek, moreplacemoredates.com. Today we are going to be reacting to Brandon Carter, No Longer Natural. So this guy is a self-proclaimed natural, physique bodybuilder dude for years. Like, this guy is one of the OGs of YouTube, where, when you think of like very OG, like Mike Chang OG is like how long this guy has been on the platform as far as I know. So he is a vet of the fitness industry, and he's made it this entire time and become successful without the need for the Sazul, according to him. And he is no longer natural. He is going to be going on TRT, and this is a 30-minute video, and we all know what happens every time I say this is a 30-minute video, so I'm gonna somehow keep it to a reasonable length. I'll jump around a bit more than I usually do, but if you know me, you know this is probably going to end up being long as fuck. So sit back and let's go through it. I'll kind of skim through. I have them on 1.25 times speed. I'll try and talk fast.
Because I want to get bigger, I want to be more ripped. I'm already stronger than almost all of you, and I'm really ripped. The thing is, all of 2020 and most of 2019, I haven't felt like myself. I haven't had much energy. It started halfway through 2019 where I just felt myself getting more tired. I would have to take naps during the day like an old man, and it just kept getting worse and worse. And I thought I was just burnt out. 2019 was a difficult year for me. I thought it was just that. But when 2020 started, it continued, the lethargy, like the constant lethargy.
I like the B-roll just like randomly fucking fading out into the abyss over here.
Every day. So then I thought maybe I just need to start sleeping more. And I was sleeping like 10, sometimes 11 hours a night. And I would still be tired during the day, just totally tired, and have to take naps and stuff. It was very difficult. And that's when I started thinking maybe it's like a biological thing. Maybe it's not, everything that's going on. Maybe it's not stress. Maybe there's something going on with me biologically. So I went and got a ton of blood work. I went to my doctors. I said, yo, check me out, check everything. From the rooter to the tutor, check every part of me. And the only thing that came back that was a concern was my testosterone was really low, like really low. The only side effect.
I'd like to see what it was. Like, that would have been cool to actually see what the actual level was of your total and your free. We just take for granted it's low, and not like you don't have to prove anything, obviously, but I mean, it just would have been interesting to see the blood work.
I really felt from that was just lethargy. So here's what I'm thinking about doing. I'm thinking about going on TRT, but this is not a decision that I really want to take lightly. So we're going to Tampa. So I'm gonna have 2 conversations with some people to do some research, man, because I'm not an expert on this, right? I've never done PEDs, contrary to popular belief. I don't really know much about this, so I'm gonna go talk to my boy Ben Bukowski, who's an expert on the subject. He competed in Mr. Olympia. He's won tons of bodybuilding competitions. He's one of the best bodybuilders of our generation. So we're gonna go talk to him. He knows about it. He knows about it both firsthand, and he's just a really smart guy. Someone who I look up to, so I'm gonna holler at him and see if it's really for me. And we're gonna talk to my boy who actually owns a testosterone clinic in Tampa. So maybe you guys can benefit from this. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna go find out what's the best option for me. It's really just about my health. It's really—
Man, this guy's decked out in the Louis V. Look at that. So anyway, we're gonna jump ahead a little bit. I know it's so totally fucking irrelevant, but I just noticed the ensemble. So let's jump ahead here, and we're here with B-Pak Fitness, also known as Ben Pakulski, who is an interesting individual who is quite the intellectual and seemed like a nice enough dude, but unfortunately recently I've actually seen his behavior with individuals he doesn't think are at his caliber on social media, and he does treat people selectively well, which is unfortunate to see. I've seen him treat guys like Brandon Carter, with open arms, and just, welcome them into, talking to him and take up his valuable time. But then other people with small followings, he acts like you're, blessed to be in his fucking presence and take up his time, which is rubbed me the wrong way. But anyways, totally irrelevant, but that's my impression of this dude.
Associate testosterone with bad things, right? You're going to be angry. I think all that's just ignorance. The reason the drugs work is because you're training so hard. You're training so hard that you're exceeding your body's natural ability to recover. So if I'm getting in the gym, I'm crushing, I'm getting so good at training, it takes me 5 days to recover. I can't get in the gym again for 5 days to do that same body part. So now if I add in a little testosterone, all of a sudden I get back in 3 days later, that's a huge advantage. Now I can almost double the number of workouts I can do, so I can double the rate of growth.
So not only that, so you're saying it's you still take hard work, but it's not even that it still takes hard work. It's like you get to work even harder.
Exactly. For the first 12 months, you're going to feel like a superhero.
Just to be clear, Kowski, you're telling me that I will feel like a superhero for at least 1 more year. If I start taking testosterone today.
You can feel like a superhero for the rest of your life if you learn to check all those boxes of things that your body's lacking.
Okay.
Right, but how do you know? So here's.
This just goes to show the difference in muscle inserts and when you're lean, how much bigger you look. Like Brandon, like granted, Pakulski has the angle on him big time right now. He's out angling the fuck out of him. But Carter, when he takes his shirt off and you see his ridiculous 6-pack ab genetics and like very, very fitness, like beach body look, you'd be like, this guy's jacked as fuck. You have him beside Pakulski in clothes, and it's like, of course, Pakulski's a former IFBB pro open bodybuilder, and a very successful one at that, but still, like, the fucking sheer difference in, like, if you just saw Pakulski standing there, you'd probably not think he's, you know, as crazy jacked until you actually put him beside, you know, Brandon Carter, and it looks like he has like fucking 40 pounds more muscle. But Carter with his shirt off, I bet you in an Instagram like filtered photo with good angle and shit, probably looks more impressive than Pakulski. So this is just another one of those like Instagram versus reality moments that I thought was worth touching on.
The thing, testing is the only way. Like you got to be objective with it. If I go, hey, you just got to take a multivitamin, you got to eat keto, you got demands on your body, put a lot of demands on your mind.
And just like business is stressful. Like just business is
well, stress is one perception, right? So if I perceive something like if business is going challenging, it's a stress. That's something's broken. You can't just go like, hey, here, take a Band-Aid.
So you're saying, so to get this straight, even if I do decide to do this, right? Get these, go on TRT. You're saying I should continue to look for things to optimize.
Of course.
Of course. This is not the end all be all.
No, dude. No, this is one small, minuscule piece of the puzzle. There's so many other things you can do to feel amazing all the time.
So if I take this, I take it forever.
Yes. Well, no, because like you could stop depending how long you took. Again, I took 18 months off completely, but my testosterone was 27.
But you didn't feel bad.
No, I feel great.
Really? Because you were doing all these other things.
Mm-hmm. Lots of training, lots of yoga, lots of meditation. Although, if I'm being honest with myself, I clearly wasn't pushing my body and mind as hard as I was when I was competing. Mm-hmm. So if I started like pushing on something, I'm like really leaning on it, I think it would have been, I would have felt worse.
I feel like I've been in third gear.
In general, if you're getting on TRT, like presumably you have a deficiency that you're trying to correct. So there's no reason you would be saying, well, maybe I'll try it for like 10 years, then I'll come off when I'm like 50. It's like, dude, the whole reason you're getting on it is because you're deficient. So why would you go from a state of hypogonadism to using it just to go back to, at best case scenario, hypogonadism, where you were before you started? And in a more likely scenario, probably worse than that, because years will have passed and you would have otherwise had endogenous, you know, down regulation anyways, and you've had your HPTA shut down for X amount of years. So, you know, expecting you to think, maybe I'll just come off in the future. It's like, if you're already symptomatic and you're low T as is, like the planning of your mind should not be, maybe I'll just come off in like, you know, 5 years or something. Like, you need it if you're fucking going on it to begin with. Like, that's the whole point of you getting on it, is you're hypogonadal and you're symptomatic and you're trying to correct a deficiency, not correct it and then uncorrect it years later and fuck yourself up even worse.
Yeah.
So Pakulski's reference point though is years of bodybuilding and then trying to come off, versus Brandon Carter is literally just replacing a clinical deficiency. It's not the same context.
All year.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, obviously you're fucking clinically deficient if you're a bodybuilder abusing the shit out of PEDs, but I mean, if you're still young and you have no idea what your baseline function is, you might still be able to bounce back. You know, you never know. Might be an aggressive post-cycle, but I mean, could happen. But with Brandon, he's been natural this whole time, you know, presumably. And this is his baseline function. He knows what it is, and it's subpar. So like, at best, you're getting back to that if you're lucky, which is not ideal, obviously, or else you wouldn't be doing this in the first place.
Yeah, some people might say it looks like it's going hard, but I know I'm coasting off the hard work I put in years ago, both in the gym and in business. Most importantly, business, man. Like, Can you let my libido be out of control?
Well, possibly. So the way I explain to clients is like, it just expresses what you already are a little bit more. So if you tend to be an asshole, you're gonna be a bigger asshole. If you tend to be very sexually aggressive, you're gonna be, you know what I mean, or sexually assertive, you're gonna be more.
Yeah, obviously, if you are an aggressive person to begin with, it might exacerbate it a bit, and all the other factors of your behavior might be heightened to an elevated degree to some extent. But like at the end of the day, the likelihood is higher that you're going to have like dramatic mood swings when you're low T than it is when you are optimized and dialed in, because being hypogonadal fucking sucks. Like I've seen like polar mood swings of guys with low T. It's like, you feel like dog shit for absolutely no reason. You just like hate life. That's the kind of stuff you deal with low T.
It's just going to express what you already are. So people get.
And as a consequence of low T, low estrogen too, which is something that a lot of people don't take into account, and low DHT, which does have neurological effects that do play largely into how you behave and how you perceive things and your ability to just fucking live a high quality life. Obviously the more important thing being the testosterone and the estrogen, but it's worth noting nonetheless, the deficiency in your major sex hormones will dictate to a significant degree how you behave, obviously.
Testosterone and blame testosterone for their problem. Like, man, that's the greatest thing. I was telling you it's bad. Now go fix it. Well, that's the other people, right? People out there who go, man, okay, great, I know this. Now what can I do to fix it? So you're experimenting, you're researching, you're learning. Versus the people who go, oh, this is terrible. Like, I won't say who, but someone comes to mind is like, if their sleep was, bad last night, they're going to use that as an excuse to not do anything today. Like, oh, I slept terrible, I feel terrible. They're psychologically go, I feel terrible because I see my sleep is bad. Lots of people. If you know you're that person, don't do that. Right. And so I think testosterone is the same thing. Like some people are going to be like, oh, I'm taking testosterone, I'm good, I don't have to do anything. Versus people are going, well, I'm taking testosterone, I actually want to use this and actually train harder and eat better and use it as a catalyst to do.
Yeah, too many people use TRT as a crutch, in my opinion. It can be a crutch if you're abusing it. If you're a guy who is literally just getting prescription for fucking 250 milligrams because you didn't even need it. You just like want to be on a fucking mini blast essentially year round. Obviously the very small minority of individuals may actually need that for therapeutic replacement, but they're few and far between. A lot of individuals are going to these cookie cutter clinics and getting, 300 mgs a test for replacement, and using it as a crutch for shitty diet and training and sleep practices, and trying to get a elevated level of performance out of it solely for the performance enhancement rather than actual clinical need and optimization. So I don't think Brandon really falls into that camp, though. He seems like a hardworking guy. He's grinding all the time on social media. I assume this will, if anything, just elevate him to a higher tier of work quality and actually have the drive to like get more shit done, and probably fix sleep too. Like even when you're T deprived, your sleep quality when you have low T and low estrogen, garbage, dude. Like so many things in your life that people don't think about. You just think, oh, low T, low muscle building, low erection quality, low libido. That's like what most people think, but most people don't realize how much it plays into cardiac function, how much it plays into sleep hygiene practices, and how fast you're going to get to sleep, your quality of sleep once you're asleep, even things like fucking temperature regulation, like so many things that don't go accounted for, and physiologic functions that are facilitated via endogenous sex hormones. And if you're deficient in them, a bunch of things get fucked up.
When you're dieting, because your testosterone stays elevated instead of dropping. And probably won't feel as bad when you diet. You won't be as tired. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna try to take as much as possible, as much as the doctor will let me take. I'm gonna follow my doctor's advice. But number 3 is this.
Surprised he said that, to be honest. So if he ends up getting one of these doctors that's like, here's 300 mgs a test, and your fucking Anavar and your Nandrolone, which are obviously HRT, this guy might get sauced as fuck in the next year.
Something you gotta do forever. Once you're on it, you're on it. And even Ben said he got off, steroids, he got off TRT, his testosterone dropped, and he said he felt fine, but he said he lost some of his edge. And he said, what really stuck out was when he was talking to his business coach, and he's trying to get some business advice, and it wasn't really going as well for him.
I would very much question a guy with a 20-something nanogram per deciliter test level if they really feel fine. Is it just you are perceiving your situation in a fucked up way because you don't even realize how fucked your mind is? It's like the guys on trend. They're like, yeah, I'm fine. I don't have any side effects. And in reality, they're acting like totally different than they normally would. Who knows? Like maybe that's the case. I would have a hard time believing anybody like that hypogonadal to the point that you are like a shitty, like a low functioning girl essentially is going to feel good. Like,
and he said, yo, he kind of lost his edge, he lost his hunger. And that's how I've been feeling. Like I lost that.
Lost my edge with a 20 nanogram per deciliter test. I'd lose my entire goddamn dick if I had that.
That aggression that I used to bring.
Sex hormone binding globulin.
Okay.
And it was like,
To be able to make a decision. Let's go.
all right, so when I was younger, I got my testosterone tested and it was like
Okay, so presumably this is his, the TRT clinic.
around 900. That was like my early 30s. What are the, that's pretty good typically, right?
It's great.
It's typically, right?
Yeah.
Total testosterone. But you were also telling me that there's like other stuff that you have to consider, like sex.
Yeah, if you have a high total, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're guaranteed high function. You have good total production, but if it's all bound to SHBG and albumin and not freely floating around for actual use, like you could be hypogonadal essentially and have shitty function, all these symptoms in the world, even though you have a total T that's high normal, based on, especially this guy who is a chronic keto dieter, wouldn't be surprised if his SHBG's through the fucking roof.
Goblin, sex goblin, the sex goblin
The sex
molecule.
goblin will get you, man. The sex hormone binding globulin is a protein that'll bind up that testosterone. So I think of testosterone, total testosterone is like fuel in your tank.
Okay.
And your SHBG helps us do an equation to figure out how much of that fuel you can use.
So one thing that is notable, I did a video a while ago called Keto Diet or Carnivore Diet, like nukes free testosterone levels. If you haven't seen it, I'll put a card up in the corner for you guys to check it out, and it basically shows the before and afters of many notable guys in the industry in the kind of like biohacking sphere who are have tried keto or carnivore diets in their blood work, and you can see how drastic their spike in SHBG is when they have a diet totally void of carbohydrates for a prolonged period of time. So even though you might have a high total T and you think, oh, it's the best diet in the world, blah, blah, blah. If your free is in the toilet because your SHBG is equivalent to that of a fucking female, it kind of doesn't matter. And I'm not saying keto diet sucks. I'm just saying that a balanced approach to everything is typically the answer. And that's even with keto, cyclical use and incorporation of carbohydrates should be deployed to manage your binding protein production, or else you may end up in a scenario where you have, I think it was Joshua Fluke I did a video on recently where he had like high total T, but then he was symptomatic and he had low T symptoms because his free T was on the fucking, it was like tanked as hell because of his high SHBG. Probably because of, I speculate it was because of keto dieting as well as fasting too often. Now, like I'm a fan of both of those practices for their use in specific scenarios, but to use them like chronically long term, you're going to lead to adaptations in a negative context when it comes to free androgen production, or free androgen circulation, I should say.
Bioavailable testosterone, that's the number that we have to really pay attention to.
Okay, and what about free testosterone? What does that mean?
So free is important, but it's more of an indicator. It tells us like, oh, you're not using it very well, but still I like to know the bioavailable.
I don't really get how free would indicate or not if you're using it well. To me, it would indicate how much is freely circulating around that would be available to target tissues in the serum. And obviously the total I'm concerned with, because SHBG is actually what delivers the testosterone to different tissues in the body and regulates androgenicity pretty much, on its own. That's like the main function in the body between, deciding how much free androgen, free DHT, free testosterone, even, the literal affinity for the binding protein in a descending order. You can see pretty easily how your body regulates a lot of things when you actually see the hierarchy of DHT, its affinity for SHBG, testosterone, and below that, estrogens. You can see how your body regulates femininity, masculinity, androgenicity ratios, etc. So, like bioavailable, that's interesting how he's taking the stance that he's kind of like, bioavailable we care about more than free.
because then I have an exact number that I can shoot for. And I like that usually in the 400 to 600 range on average. Of course, every guy's different, but if you can get that in the 400 to 600 range, you're gonna probably be feeling awesome.
Here's something I wanted to ask you about. Like I hear some people saying like, oh, we're just gonna bring you back to normal levels you alluded to that earlier.
Yep.
But isn't it better than normal? Isn't it better than normal? Because, you know, a normal guy's testosterone will fluctuate depending on different stress, different things going on, you know, dietary changes, lack of sleep. A normal guy's, even if you had high testosterone, it will fluctuate. When you're on TRT, it's going to.
Exactly. So even if you fuck up everything, it maintains the exact same level. So it is, even if you have a therapeutic level on paper, it's still like performance enhancing. Even if you have an 800 nanogram per deciliter total, if you're on TRT, you're maintaining that constant bleed of hormone, regardless if you fuck up your diet, regardless if you fuck up your sleep, regardless if you do anything wrong. You go out and binge drink, your tea is exogenously administered. It doesn't matter what you did. Granted, that doesn't give you a free pass to have a horrible lifestyle, although some people do use it as that, and those are the individuals who don't see the results they want when they deploy this stuff. But it does have a like unfair advantage over your natural production because that is based on a diurnal rhythm and it's secreted. It is not something in a pulsatile fashion. It's not something that just bleeds into your system constantly no matter what you do or don't do.
To stay wherever you put it, right? So isn't that a little better than normal?
Yeah, you make a good point. I mean, it is a little bit better. We are assessing the man as a whole, not necessarily, we take age into that factor, but I'm not looking at it and saying, I want to optimize you for a 40-year-old man. I'm looking at it as, I want to optimize you for Brandon Carter. Like, what's your activity level? What's your body style? What are you trying to do? What are your goals? You know, if you're an 80-year-old guy and you just want to be able to take a walk and go, you know, have dinner with your wife and see your grandkids once in a while, that's your goal, then maybe you don't need what a guy who's in the gym and getting after it. So you're right.
All right, let me give you my goal. I want to be a light-skinned Black Panther.
I think you're already there.
Let's say you get my levels up to 900, the same way it was when I was like 31, 32. A 900 on TRT is what I'm trying to ask you. Is that better than a natural 900?
100%. I just went over why, so I'm going to skip whatever he says next.
Times like super physiological levels where it's like Superman levels where, okay, you feel great, you get some good progress, but the reality is you continue to do that, you're setting yourself up for like a stroke.
Oh, stroke?
You know, or like potential other issues. Like, so we just don't play that game. I mean, that's not the industry we're in. We're in it for the guys who want to be at their best 40 years from now.
You know, obviously there's going to be the individuals who say, oh, have you seen the dose response study going up to 600 milligrams? Like, test is obviously safe as high as 600 milligrams because of that one study. It's like, you don't really know, dude. You know, if you have super physiological androgens, everything's meant to stay at a level physiologically for a reason. Otherwise, we just linearly like grow fucking muscle tissue and blast androgens out of our ball sack as much as we want. And it just isn't the case. There is regulated processes in the body with negative feedback for a reason that stop you from producing, you know, 2,000 nanograms per deciliter test levels. So, you know, for anyone to imply like, oh, you know, you're definitely gonna get a stroke if you do high, you know, a high TRT dose, you know, TRT, you know, that's, you can't predict, but you can just, you know, speculate that, okay, maybe pushing my androgens to super physiological territory, A, isn't necessary, and B, you know, may be dangerous. Like, we don't know for sure, so probably best to just not fuck with it.
Be as natural as long as you can. There's ways to support your natural production and go that route as long as you can. Focus on your sleep, your nutrition, removing toxins and stress, like all that stuff. I mean, you could get into your 40s most likely if you played the game right, maybe even beyond. As far as I would tell a guy, ride it as long as you can, but look, at a certain age, it's a decision. And if you want to hit that optimal level, then yeah, you know, I think it makes sense for most guys to get on testosterone therapy when they hit that point, but that point is different for each person.
Yeah.
So why I predominantly advise guys not to jump on it early is, first of all, you need to medically qualify to do it with a medical practitioner who knows what they're doing.
If you're gonna do it legally, right?
Legally.
Yeah.
You can't just jump on because you want to. So
Some clinics you can, unfortunately, but it sounds like this guy has his head on straight, so this is good information.
then the question is, all right, then you're doing it on your own. Well, if you're not being monitored properly and getting the right dose for you and doing all those things, you could set yourself up for big problems. And so it's kind of a hard middle ground there where it's like, okay, well then I just won't go through a practitioner. Okay, but then you could screw yourself up in so many ways that it wasn't worth it at all.
Or get some fake shit on accident.
Right, exactly. The quality, I mean, we get guys in who are like doing 500 milligrams a week, and I'm like, oh my God, if you did our stuff 500 milligrams, you would die. The goal is to maximize your
That was such a funny jump cut, like right after. So if you use our stuff, you'd fucking die.
Wasn't worth it at all.
Or get some fake shit on accident.
Right, exactly. The quality, I mean, we get guys in who are like doing 500 milligrams a week. And I'm like, oh my God, if you did our stuff at 500 milligrams, you would die. The goal is to maximize your results
This is such a fast jump cut out of that.
with the least amount of medication.
Thank you, man. I really
Absolutely.
appreciate it, man. And you know, I gotta contemplate a lot of this stuff, and you know, it's just, you know.
So there's that. Now, I have to balance that with, okay, do I want to inject testosterone in my butt once or twice a week for the rest of my life? Or do I want to feel the way I do currently for the rest of my life and watch it get progressively worse? I feel pretty good about the health ramifications after talking to the doctors and knowing that I'll be, you know, under professional supervision. I mean, there still can be potential long-term side effects. I have to weigh those versus weighing feeling the way I feel now and not feeling optimal. But, you know, there's a lot of pros. More energy, more focus, more drive, mental clarity. That's the main thing I want. But then there's also other benefits like, you know, more muscle. But there was one listed benefit that I think is a con, and that's increased libido and sex drive.
Dude, this is the same thing that I think of too. Like, I know most people want that, but when it comes to being an entrepreneur, and I know this guy is in the same kind of like, you know, I don't know if he's like a make money online guy or what, but I know he is like a very driven entrepreneur. And when your libido is enhanced, especially when I used to blast shit back in the day, it's like you're getting way less done during the day. You are fucking, your mind is consumed with shit that you shouldn't have to think about that often, and taking care of business a little too often, unfortunately.
You know, having a high sex drive has historically not worked out well for me in my life. Without going into too much detail, I can definitely see that being actually a downside. Now, fortunately, I have a beautiful girlfriend, super hot, super hot. But then I think about it, it's like, yo, even
It's just the most subtle flex. Super hot, super hot.
then, there's no way she's gonna be as horny as a guy who's maxing out his testosterone levels round the clock. So that's gonna make me significantly hornier than her, and significantly hornier than probably most of the population. Sex drive is not something I'm suffering from. Sure, it wasn't what it was when I was in my 20s. Thank God, but I don't really want it to get
Dude, some of these jump cuts are fucking hilariously timed.
crazy higher. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be honest with you. But mitigating further decline may be something, you know, worth considering.
Some family members, some friends, but I know myself, and that's something, you know, I kind of took pride in. I felt like one of my people didn't believe me. I felt a certain pride and like, no, he was saying that some of his clients don't even have the TRT shipped to their home. They prefer to have it shipped to their office so their wife doesn't know, like she's gonna look down on them or something. It's like, yo, you shouldn't be ashamed to take medicine. Now, some people say, oh, it's not medicine, you don't need it. And yeah, I also don't need my allergy medicine. I can live, I can function without it, but life's a lot better when I'm not sneezing on people. I want to be an example, a good example for other older guys, or maybe even younger guys. Who knows, man? There's no age requirement where your testosterone drops, you know?
He makes a good point, you know? As you get older, a lot of things downregulate, not just, you know, testosterone production. You become more prone to even like random like autoimmune disease and like weird shit, you know, that happens to you as a result of, you know, downregulated fucking anything, even like stomach acid production, like shit you wouldn't think of is stuff that all deteriorates and gets poorer as you get older, and you end up having to potentially supplement with it to optimize certain processes, or, you know, take whatever fill in the blank medication to address some kind of imbalance or deficiency. And testosterone just has this bad reputation just because of the nature of the beast. You know, it's a steroid, and oh my God, you inject it in your fucking ass. It's like, that's good that he's trying to normalize it in this video and kind of, you know, explain that you shouldn't be ashamed of it, because a lot of guys actually do medically need it, and it shouldn't be viewed, you know, so much differently than some other, you know, clinical deficiency. You know, if a chick gets birth control prescribed at 15 years old, like, I think that's way more sketch than a guy who's in his 40s getting prescribed TRT, personally. Like, that is something that should be viewed as like more odd, in my opinion, and unjustified, in my opinion. So, you know, it's all about, it's just like the perspective that we've kind of been like brainwashed into over the past however many years, unfortunately. But I'm sure the tides are turning. So that's good of him to make this video. And I guess we shall see how much his physique changes. I'd be interested to see his dose. Hopefully I didn't skip over it. But let's see the comment section. Oh, great. I already knew he was gonna do this video. That's my HRT told me several months ago. Fuck, dude. I feel like every time I'm gonna get into a video, there's gonna be some like time travel comment from fucking Greg. How do you guys feel about my decision? Who are we to judge what you want to do with your body? I just appreciate you're open about your usage. I 100% support it and can't wait to see what crazy gains you make. Hope it helps your energy levels as well. Your free time is spent entertaining women. It's a full-time job. Get off keto in all caps. Yeah, so I'd be interested to see, because this guy, I don't know if he is keto year round, but if that were the case, I'd be interested to see what would happen with some diet manipulation and his blood work. Like, you have to remember too, the blood test is a snapshot in time. If you go get your blood test in the middle of the fucking late afternoon or something, it's going to be a wildly different level than it is right at the, right in the morning when you're getting out of bed at the crack of dawn. You go to the LabCorp and you get your test done. Once everything is, peaked in the morning, the difference is going to be drastic based on that diurnal rhythm. You might get there later in the day right at a huge dip and think like, oh my God, I'm at like 400, when in reality, your peak might be fucking 750, 800. Maybe you're fine. And obviously at the end of the day though, it comes down to symptoms too. So it's not just like, oh, because you are 700 total and your free is, fill in the blank, that you're fine. Like, no, you still have to go by, are you symptomatic? Do you have any like actual issues that are related to low T? Because some people, even when it comes down to androgen receptor content, everyone is going to have a different need physiologically to actually get the gene transcription that you get out of this stuff. Like, just because you have a certain level of androgens in your blood, it doesn't necessarily equate to, okay, you 100% need to be feeling fine on this amount of test because your blood says so. Like, that's not how it works. So, but again, circling back to this guy's diet model, I'd be interested to see what his test level actually was. And then I'd be interested to see if this guy is a chronic keto dieter, what would have happened if he changed his diet model? But again, if this guy wants to be on keto his entire life, he can't just be like, get off your fucking diet that is like making you mentally sharp and you've like developed your whole lifestyle around just because you need TRT while you're on it. Like, that's, you can't expect him to just eat a bunch of fucking carbs because that's the solution. For him, it's his own personal decision what his diet model is, and maybe he's already aware of that. I'm not sure, but I mean, it certainly would have been interesting to see. But at the end of the day, are you going to change your diet model simply to achieve a little bit better of a total and free T or whatever it is, assuming you even respond to that, versus actually stick to the diet model that is most conducive to your lifestyle and you feel is the best for your mental clarity, sharpness, etc., and do TRT? It's all an individual decision. We're not here to say you need to change your diet and you need to try this and blah, blah, blah. Like, obviously he's weighed it out pretty significantly. And I guess we'll see if he has any updates in the future. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. They're all appreciated and help the algorithm. Like, subscribe, check out my blog, moreplates.com. Follow me on Instagram at moreplates_moredates. Facebook, Snapchat, BitChute, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts. If you want to support the channel, you can check out anything I'm associated with in the video description below, including my TRT clinic. It's all telemedicine from the comfort of your own home. It's the way of the future, in my opinion. Telemedicine, especially when I can get high quality PCCs and doctors who are not all local to one like condensed area, and I can actually vet them from different areas of the country to facilitate the high quality level of information and oversight that I want out of every single person in my clinic. So if you want to check that out, the link is in the description below, as well as my recommended lab work / diagnostics for assessing your health in general, as well as any imbalances or deficiencies as a, you can use it as a prerequisite for your actual consultation, or just to get an interpretation of your current state of health from the same patient care coordinators, doctor, etc., that I vetted. And then anything else I'm associated with, it's all in the video description below. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.